Way up high in the Bolivian Andes, right near the famous Lake Titicaca, there are these ruins of a city that, well, they just defy any easy explanation. This is Tiwanaku. It's this enormous, silent city made of stone, and it was once the capital of a huge pre-Incan empire. Today, we're going to try and peel back some of the layers of this incredible ancient mystery.
So just look at this. This is the famous Gate of the Sun. Now the crazy part is, this entire thing was carved from one single solid block of andesite. That's an incredibly hard volcanic rock. The precision is just breathtaking, especially when you remember this was all done by a civilization that had no iron tools. They were likely working with stone hammers and maybe some early bronze chisels. And get this, they had no known system of writing.
And that really is the central question, isn't it? How did they pull this off? How in the world did the people of Tiwanaku cut, move, and perfectly fit together these gigantic blocks of stone, some weighing over 100 tons, in one of the toughest environments on the planet?
For centuries, these ruins have been a massive puzzle. I mean, the sheer scale and the perfection of the stonework, it honestly looks like it belongs to another world. And that has led to all kinds of speculation about how this city ever came to be.
Oh yeah, it's true. The complexity here is so mind-bending, especially at a part of the site called Pumapunku, that Tiwanaku has become a favorite topic for ancient astronaut theorists. Their whole argument is that there's just no way humans could have achieved this level of precision with the tools they had back then.
But you know what? As we're about to see, the real story isn't about some help from the stars. It's about a civilization whose mastery of engineering, of math, and social organization was so advanced, it still blows our minds today. Honestly, the truth is way more impressive.
So who were these master builders? To really get a handle on their amazing creations, we first have to understand the world they lived in.
Tiwanaku is located way up on the Altiplano, or the high plain of the Andes. We're talking over 12,000 feet above sea level. This is a seriously harsh, high-altitude environment. But for the Tiwanaku people, this was the absolute center of their universe.
For more than 600 years, this city was a huge cultural and political center. At its peak, around 800 AD, you had more than 10,000 people calling this place home. It was a complex society with skilled artisans, herders, farmers, the whole shebang. But what's really fascinating is that archaeologists have found zero evidence of big markets. So how did their economy even work?
Well, they had a system we call elite redistribution. Basically, think of it like this. The ruling class, the elites, they controlled everything, all the food, the textiles, all the goods. But in return, it was their job to make sure every single citizen had the resources they needed to live. This state-controlled economy was the secret sauce. It's what allowed the rulers to mobilize the huge coordinated labor force they needed for these building projects that would have taken generations to complete.
And that leads us right back to the engineering. This incredibly organized society took all its power and channeled it into creating some of the most spectacular structures in the entire ancient world.
The main ceremonial part of the city is it's a collection of wonders. You've got the Akapana pyramid, which was aligned to the stars. There's the really strange semi-subterranean temple with its walls just covered in these carved stone faces. You have the Kalasasaya, this giant courtyard that acted like a celestial observatory. And then there's the truly baffling Pumapunku. At Pumapunku, which means Gate of the Puma, you find these massive blocks of stone cut into these super complex interlocking shapes. And the precision is almost machine-like. These aren't just simple blocks. They're like giant, thousand-year-old Lego pieces.
And the scale it's just staggering. The largest single block of stone they found at Tiwanaku is right there at Pumapunku. It's estimated to weigh 131 metric tons. To put that in perspective, that's like 100 cars all moved and put into place by people who didn't even use the wheel for transport.
So how on earth did they do it? Well, researchers haven't found any evidence of a standard unit of measurement, like a foot or a meter. Instead, it seems they had this incredible system where every single stone was individually shaped to fit perfectly with the stones next to it. It was an absolute mastery of practical geometry and custom fitting, just on a monumental scale.
But why? Why build all this? Well, Tiwanaku wasn't just a place for people to live. It was designed to be a mirror of the cosmos, a sacred spot where the world of humans and the world of the gods could meet.
The figure that dominates the Gate of the Sun is this one right here, known as the Staff God. It's thought to be a version of the creator god Viracocha, and this image was a huge unifying symbol for the Tiwanaku culture. You see it everywhere, on their pottery, their textiles, their monuments.
The whole city's design was a sacred landscape that showed their worldview. It was built between two holy mountains, right near Lake Titicaca, which they believed was the mythical birthplace of their gods. Its main buildings are perfectly aligned to track the sun on the solstices and equinoxes, and even to follow the movement of the Milky Way. For the people who lived there, Tiwanaku was Taipikala, which means the stone in the very center of the universe.
But then, after centuries of growing and influencing the entire region, this vibrant center of the world just fell silent. And one of the biggest mysteries that remains is what in the world happened to the people of Tiwanaku?
The timeline itself is pretty clear. The city really starts to grow around 375 AD. It hits its absolute peak of power around 800 AD, and then, just 200 years later, around the year 1000, the whole society collapses and the city is abandoned. For the longest time, nobody really knew why. But recent climate research points to a pretty convincing answer: a sudden and very long period of drought. For a civilization that was built on really sophisticated farming, a huge climate shift like that would have been an absolute catastrophe. It would have led to crop failures, social unrest, and, eventually, the entire collapse of their society.
After it was abandoned, the City of Stone started a long, slow decay. It suffered from the passage of time, but also at the hands of people. Its modern story is one of rediscovery, for sure, but also one of damage and pretty controversial restoration.
Okay, this slide shows a really stark contrast. On the left, you see the original remains of a wall in the Kalasaya courtyard from an old photo. Just these massive, perfectly cut stone pillars. Now look at the right. That's the modern reconstruction. You can see right away the stonework they put between the pillars is of a much lower quality. It was an attempt to restore the wall that a lot of people have criticized because it wasn't really based on solid archaeological evidence.
You know, the site was looted for centuries. People even took its stones to build nearby churches and a railroad line. But thankfully, today its immense cultural importance is finally recognized. Tiwanaku is a protected UNESCO World Heritage Site, which makes sure that what's left of it is preserved for all of us.
And this story is absolutely not over, not by a long shot. In fact, recent drone surveys have found hundreds of structures that nobody knew existed, all hidden just beneath the soil around the main site. So the big question is, after 1,000 years of silence, what other secrets is this impossible city still waiting to tell us?